Hey guys, welcome back to Fantasy Tips. Julian here for another waiver wire episode. An episode where I let you guys know which players are the best players to be adding to your team. This is for week 9 of the fantasy hockey schedule. Now, hopefully you guys all have winning records and are all having a lot of fun playing fantasy hockey. I know sometimes when you're losing a little bit, it can be a little bit discouraging and you may not have quite as much fun with fantasy hockey, but just try to remember, guys, that no matter what, you're just doing this for fun. And if you happen to be losing, even if you're losing in all of your leagues on any given week, it's just for fun. Sometimes I have to remind myself of that as well. This has been a rough week for me, week 8, but hey, hopefully my teams can bounce back from this. I'm undefeated in 2 out of my 3 leagues, so I'm not overly worried in those 2. But, sometimes you just have bad luck on any given week. Before we get started with the content, though, guys, drop a like and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. And if you do want to take your support to the next level, please do consider hitting that join button down below to support me. Or you can go down in the description below and there's a link to my Patreon. If you join my Patreon, I also give you some perks like being able to DM with me one-on-one, ask me any fantasy questions you have, and I'll try to answer you and help you out with your team the best I can. And also you get early access videos, so if I'm ever uploading anything early, which I oftentimes do, you get access to it the second it's uploaded to YouTube and get that extra advantage over your opponents. Let's jump into the schedule now, guys, and let's take a look. On Monday, December 1st, yes, December is starting next week, there are 5 games. On Tuesday, there are 10. Wednesday, there are 5. Thursday, there are 10. Friday, there are 5. Saturday, there are 12. And Sunday, there are 8. So the off days are Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Sunday is not an off day, but half the teams in the NHL are playing, so there still is a chance that you can fit players in your lineup. Who has the best schedule? Well, there are quite a few teams, 6 teams to be exact, that play on all 3 off nights. Those teams are Anaheim, Buffalo, New Jersey, San Jose, Utah, and Winnipeg. And if you do also have room on Sunday, that can be considered kind of an off night for you. Then Anaheim and San Jose really do have the best schedules because they play on all 4 of those nights. So streaming a player from one of those teams is just a great idea. Now Dallas, Philadelphia, and Washington also have pretty good schedules because they play on 2 off days. Other teams with decent schedules are Calgary, Colorado, Columbus, Florida, Montreal, the New York Islanders, the New York Rangers, and St. Louis, because they play 4 games this week. So I'm not necessarily the best streaming teams, but if you own players from those teams, you might do well this week. Now, who has the worst schedule? Well, for the second week in a row, Seattle has a bad schedule, only playing 2 games, and both of those games are on busy nights. On top of that, it is rough owning any Seattle Kraken players right now, considering that week 8, they had a bad schedule. Week 9, they have another bad schedule. Jumping into forwards, and first on the list is Vincent Trocheck of the New York Rangers, and I don't understand how he's still under 70% owned. It doesn't make sense. He's playing well, he's shooting, he's even hitting a whole lot. He seems to be blocking quite a bit as well. And he's top power play. I just don't understand. Like, this guy should be easily over 70% owned. Second on the list is Adam Fantilli of the Columbus Blue Jackets, and Fantilli is top line, top power play. He's absolutely going off. Now he's finally getting the deployment that we've always wanted to see from him. He's a must add right now. If he's still available in your league, you need to add him. I still prefer Trocheck over him, but he's getting there. Anton Lundell, someone that I like a lot as well. Top line, top power play in Florida, having himself a pretty solid year overall. I like the guy. William Eklund is a great add on the top line and top power play in San Jose, and they have all of the off nights this week plus Sunday. It's an excellent streamer there. Chris Kreider as well is a pretty solid streaming option for this week. They have all the off nights plus Sunday. He's playing top line or second line, probably you want to call that one, and top power play. That seems like a good deal for me. He's a dude that likes to score goals. Cole Perfetti of the Winnipeg Jets. Yeah, he's been a little bit disappointing so far, but Winnipeg does have some off nights this week. He's got triple eligibility, so he's definitely fitting in your lineup. And he's just somebody who's top power play, getting decent deployment. I know Winnipeg's second line is nothing crazy, but he definitely should put up points for you. Jake DeBrusk has been kind of going off. He's line 1 and power play 1 with Elias Pettersson, and has 7 points in his last 8 games. As long as this dude keeps up the hot streak, why not have him on your team? Matt Zuccarello, top line, top power play with Kirill Kaprizov. Yeah, I love that a lot. And ever since coming back from injury, the Wild have been incredible. It might be due to him a little bit. And yeah, he's definitely a great player to be owning in fantasy. I don't know how he's only 29% owned. Matt Coronado has gone in a couple of pointless games in a row here, but he's kind of back. He's shooting a lot. He's getting great deployment, top power play time. He should have himself a pretty solid rest of season. Braden Bowman, top line in Vegas, and he's been scoring quite a bit of points. So he's actually a pretty great option right now. Quick note, with Mark Stone back, Braden Bowman's been knocked off the top power play, but he is still top line with Jack Eichel, so he's definitely still got some value, and he's been playing pretty darn well. Gabriel Landeskog is somebody that I'm finally suggesting for the first time this year as not like a trending down option. He's actually finally been placed on power play 1 with Nathan MacKinnon. And he's been scoring points. He hasn't been going off like crazy, but he's been scoring points here and there. And he's on a pretty hot second line with Brock Nelson, who's doing pretty well right now as well. So I really don't mind Gabriel Landeskog at the moment, especially since he's so lowly owned at the moment. Then Jamie Benn of the Dallas Stars, since coming back from injury, is playing really well. Is currently also playing on line with Wyatt Johnson and Mikko Rantanen. Like, that's great deployment. And obviously we know Jamie Benn was pretty great in his heyday, and if he could even show flashes of that, which he has, he could be a really solid player to be owning for a little while, and Dallas has a decent schedule this week with 2 off nights. Josh Norris of the Buffalo Sabres should be back. Now, I'm recording this Friday night, and he did not return on Friday night, but there's a good chance that he only didn't return because they didn't want to play him on both halves of the back-to-back, so he definitely could be playing on Saturday. Even if he doesn't play on Saturday, I'm expecting him to pretty much return right away for next week. And Buffalo does have those off nights Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So a great streamer and somebody that you probably actually want to hold on to because the dude's upside is easily a top 75 fantasy player if he can actually stay healthy. Like, this dude is actually really, really good. He just finally has to stay healthy. Then we have Beckett Seneca, who is definitely a really, really good option as a streamer this week for the Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday off nights. He plays on the second line with Mason McTavish and Chris Kreider, and he's been really solid this year. He's not power play 1 anymore. He wasn't there for very long, but still, he's somebody who's had a sneaky good year and probably is one of the front runners for the Calder. Obviously, you got Schaefer and Deminov above him, but he's been sneakily good this year. Zach Benson is somebody who I like a lot as well. He was having himself a pretty nice breakout year before going and getting himself injured. He's finally back, and Buffalo's weird. They're always changing up their lines, and currently they have him on the third line, which isn't completely ideal, but he is top power play as of this moment, and definitely is somebody that could go off on those off nights Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and he's somebody that could end up being a hold rest of season if he can start heating up and showing exactly why he was drafted as early as he was. Yakov Trenin is somebody who I like a lot in Minnesota. He plays on the bottom 2 lines and doesn't get a lot of points. So why am I suggesting him? Well, he's leading the league in hits. So if hits are worth really anything in a points-based league, or you're in a categories league and you want to win the hits category every single week, Yakov Trenin pretty much does just that. I have him in a Cats league. I don't think I've lost hits once this entire year. I've held him since pretty much the beginning of the year. He's been absolutely awesome. He's by far the best hitter in the league right now, and his other peripherals, they're not completely non-existent either. And yeah, points are not going to be super frequent, but the floor that he has just with those hits is pretty great. Jason Zucker is playing on the second line in Buffalo with McLeod and Quinn, which isn't a horrible deployment, and he's top power play, and he's been doing pretty well over the past couple of games since he's coming back from injury. Alexander Wenberg is a sneaky good ad if you're in a deep league. He's only 3% rostered, and he's playing top power play with Celebrini as well as second line deployment in San Jose. Now, he's definitely not the sexiest option, but for a streamer for Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday, you can't do much better in a deep league. Jack Quinn is also an option. He's been doing pretty well as of late, and while he's not top power play anymore, he's still on the second line, a decent second line with McLeod and Zucker, and hopefully can still produce. If you're in a deep league and need an off-night guy, he's also an option. Now, Barrett Hayton is an interesting one. He's been getting pretty good deployment, being in the top 2 lines like the entire season. Despite this, though, he's not played really that well. He's playing between Keller and Schmaltz, where you'd think he would have scored quite a bit more points than he has, but he was just on a 12-game pointless drought, where he finally ended that with a goal the other night. Now, he is also sick at the time of this recording, but, usually NHL players don't really miss more than a game for being sick. So if he is deemed healthy, he's an option for the off nights. Definitely not my favorite option, but with that deployment with Clayton Keller, you're bound to score a point or two, right? Hopefully that goal that he scored kind of reset him, and now he might start scoring a little bit more points. Next is Easton Cowan. He's only owned in 2% of leagues, but he's playing alongside John Tavares, and he's been playing pretty darn well as of late. He had a 3-game point streak going, and hey, if he continues to stay hot, why not add him in a deep league until he slows down? The night that I'm recording this, he didn't score any points, but was actually on the top power play with Nylander out with an illness. So, hey, if he's the next guy up on the top power play, that's definitely an added bonus as well. Jumping into defensemen, and Thomas Chabot, oh man, I love the guy. He's really, really great, especially when healthy. But he just went on IR, missed a week, came back, and then immediately re-injured himself. It doesn't seem like it's going to be too serious, and he's probably going to be back real soon. But yeah, it's a little bit rough being a guy who owns him in all of my leagues. But hey, we got to be patient. He's a great defenseman, doesn't need top power play to be productive, both point-wise and decent peripherals as well. He's a guy that I like a lot, and definitely you should be stashing him right now if he's available in your league. Darren Radish is also somebody that needs to be added in more leagues. Now, I get it. Hedman may not be out for that much longer, a week, maybe 2, but in the meantime, this dude's been going off. Playing on Tampa Bay's top power play is a real great spot to be, and he's been producing. Artem Levshinov of the Chicago Blackhawks has definitely been a little bit colder than he was when he was just going off on that top power play, but that's to be expected. He wasn't going to continue that super hot pace. That being said, he's still a top power play defenseman, and you can't find much better than him on the waiver wire. Radko Gudas is a good streamer for this week, 4 games, and gives you a pretty safe floor night in and night out with hits and blocks. I wouldn't expect too many points from him, though. Same thing with Liam Bichelle. He's really a hitter, doesn't do much outside of the hits, but at least could get you a safe floor there. Hampus Lindholm's a top power play guy in Boston. Hasn't been overwhelming with the point production, but he hasn't been that bad. Cam York's the top power play guy in Philadelphia. If he doesn't put up a point, he's kind of a donut man, though, so kind of a risky one there. Then I have John Klingberg, and he was healthy scratched for 3 of the last 5 games, but the night that I'm recording this, he's finally back in the lineup, and when he is in the lineup, he's automatically on power play 1. Orlov isn't bad on power play 1 when Klingberg is out of the lineup, but every time he's in it, they insist on putting him back power play 1. If this dude can keep that spot, he's a good add in deep leagues. Hopefully he can stop getting scratched now. And frankly, he should, because in his last 2 games that he wasn't a healthy scratch, he got a point. JJ Moser, with all the injuries in Tampa Bay, this dude's been getting a whole lot of ice time, has been scoring some points, which I wouldn't, bank on, but his floor also hasn't been that bad, so he is an option in deep leagues. And finally, Nate Schmidt, who has 7 points in his last 7 games, including a 5-game point streak on Utah, is a pretty good ad right now in deep leagues. I don't think he's going to be a season-long hold or anything like that, but he's definitely a decently talented player, and every time the guy is on a streak, you might as well add the guy. In terms of goalies, if you haven't added Jesper Wallstedt yet, do it. This is probably your last chance to do it. The dude's just freaking incredible. He can't lose, and he just goes off every night, whether it's a shutout or just a really great performance. He just beat Colorado, for crying out loud. Like, that's really, really impressive. Joseph Woll is the starter in Toronto, so he's a really great add as well, because Stolarz, even though they said it wasn't a serious injury at first, he's not even practicing yet. So Woll is going to be getting pretty much all the starts going forward until Stolarz comes back, and even then, they'll split starts. So Woll is a guy you probably can hold the rest of the season. Jet Greaves is the starter in Columbus. Now, he didn't have the greatest night tonight. lost in overtime to Pittsburgh. Not horrible, but he's definitely looked good. So even if his stats don't necessarily appear the best, he's looked really, really good on the ice, and the coach knows that, and he's going to continue to get the bulk of the starts in Columbus. Darth Vader of the Philadelphia Flyers should get the bulk of the starts going forward. Eric Comrie of the Winnipeg Jets with Hellebuyck out. He's the starter in Winnipeg. Jakub Dobeš is getting pretty much the majority of the starts in Montreal, and Montreal seems to have turned the corner from that rough patch they were on, so he could be a pretty solid guy to own rest of season. Seelovs and Jarry are splitting starts, although Tristan Jarry just got his second start in a row today, so that's definitely something to be monitoring. So if I have to prioritize any of these guys, if I want one of them, Tristan Jarry is the guy I want right now. And also, there's a lot of trade interest surrounding him as well. So Jarry maybe gets traded to a team like Edmonton, which could improve his value. Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, or 6K, has been the number one goalie in Buffalo. It seems like it's finally down to one goalie. Hopefully I don't jinx this by saying that, but Ellis had a bad game or two, and then they played Lyon tonight, and he absolutely sucked. So Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen should start Saturday, hopefully, and then hopefully, if he does decently, should be the starter here on out. Carter Hart of the Vegas Golden Knights is eligible to play this week, guys. December 1st was the day he's eligible to play for Vegas, and Vegas plays on December 2nd, so he could easily get that start and at least one more start this week. Carter Hart could end up being the starter for Vegas, at least a split start with Akira Schmid. Add him right now. He's only 16% owned. That number needs to go up. I get it. He hasn't played in the NHL in a long time, but he has been conditioning in the AHL, so hopefully he's been able to get up to speed a little bit. And finally, Nikita Tolopilo is actually 0% owned, but he is the starter right now in Vancouver. With Demko still injured and Kevin Lankinen out on leave, Nikita Tolopilo has been the guy getting the starts in Vancouver. He started 2 games in a row now, and while he hasn't been otherworldly, he's been serviceable, and if you're in a super deep league, why not add the guy? Now, Demko should be back soon, and I don't think Lankinen will be out that long, but at least for the time being, you could do worse than that. Other goalies that are options are Peter Mrazek, who's also just about 0% owned. With Dostal out, he's definitely an option. And then you could also go for a guy like Jonas Korpisalo, who's getting about 1 out of every 3 starts. If you're in an ultra deep league, that's probably good enough. But if you're in anything but an ultra deep league, you're not going to want him. And that's it for this video, guys. If you enjoyed it, drop a like and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. And I'll catch you all in the next episode of Fantasy Tipped.